Turning now to House lawmakers questioning former Attorney General Loretta Lynch for about 7 hours yesterday in a closed-door session. Democrats calling the interview a waste of time and slamming their Republican colleagues for rehashing what they consider old news.
The Attorney General has given tremendous service to our country. Our Republican friends want to rehash issues that have already been resolved.
It was reiterated by her that she saw no reason today, based upon all that was reviewed and presented regarding former Secretary Clinton's emails, to prosecute or to hold her criminally liable.
It was a total waste of time. It was simply rehashing things that have been gone over in public many times before.
Joining me now, Republican Congressman Darrell Issa of California, who sits on the Judiciary and Oversight Committees. Thank you very much. I know it's been a very busy week for you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you. And I just want to start off by, when people get to see the transcript, what they're going to see is Republicans asking important questions that, quite frankly, she answered pretty straightforward. And then they're going to hear Democrats talking sort of almost like a social chit-chat about what were her opinions on unrelated matters. So let's talk about 3 hours of interview, not 7.
Okay, so, I mean, Democrats are calling it old news.
Republicans
learned something new yesterday, did they?
Julia, it is old news. It's old news, but it still has not been put to rest.
Right.
Comey was insubordinate. Comey did not inform the Attorney General, who had not recused herself, that he was about to dismiss a case for lack of evidence when, in fact, he wasn't a prosecutor, but rather an FBI head. He did a lot of things that justify his firing, and ultimately one of the greatest questions that had to be resolved was FBI Director Comey fired for good and valid reason? And I think we put to rest in no uncertain terms that he was appropriately fired by the chief executive for his ongoing insubordination, his attitude. That's separate from his efforts to try to undermine the presidency before Donald Trump was elected and right afterwards, with his deceit, his actions toward Flynn, all kinds of other things. Ultimately, the firing of James Comey was correct and appropriate, and we put that to rest yesterday with the help of the Attorney General.
Now, both the Judiciary and Oversight, they're jointly examining allegations of bias, and that is a big sticking point for Republicans, and one that Democrats might not understand, because this is not old news. This just happened, I mean, just about a year ago. And specifically, I'm referring to, of course, the former AG's controversial tarmac meeting with the former president, right, Bill Clinton, at a time when his wife, the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, just happened to be under investigation. Comey, I thought it was interesting, we read in the transcript, called the meeting a coincidence. How did Lynch explain it? And I, judging by your face, do not believe you think it was any coincidence.
You know, it's 140 degrees out on the tarmac. You don't even want to keep these jets out there with people in them. The reality was, it's a long way from one side to the other. President Clinton had to basically stalk the Attorney General, set it up so that this coincidence would happen. And then he not only had private conversations with the Attorney General, who was about to move out of her position and want somebody of influence to help her in her future life, but he also privately and separately talked to members of her staff, and we still don't know what was said there. But the same was true. These people were about to go out of office, and having the President of the United States and a former president and a man who controlled $500 million of charity assets and global reach, you better believe he had influence far beyond that of the average citizen, talking about chit-chat and children. Right. He had influence that affected the decision of whether his wife was prosecuted for what was clearly wrong. We can debate prosecution, but there's no question she failed to obey the law, and he was in there intervening for her.
All right, switching gears just a bit, because we have so much to talk about. The president's pick for AG, William Barr, getting more criticism from the left, all due to a memo to the Justice Department where Barr apparently said that and called the obstruction of justice inquiry by the special counsel, quote, fatally misconceived. Do those comments present a conflict of interest, or is this more of the left picking on yet another Trump pick?
Well, first of all, this is somebody who, even the moment he was announced, they had to agree was incredibly qualified and had no question about his previous service. But he can have an opinion that happens to be right. The fact is, it was fatally flawed. The reality is that what we're learning is that there is a weak and unjustified case to prosecute the president for obstruction for firing Comey. Just the opposite. There's good and valid reason for the firing of the FBI director. And those are real questions. But just because he has a view on it doesn't change the fact that he's very qualified, and in fact, he's right.
All right, Congressman Darrell, Issa, great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on this morning.